Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Tablas Creek Instagram Live Wednesday broadcast. I am Jason Haas, partner and general manager here. I am super excited to have Marc Perrin joining me from Famille Perrin as my guest today. But while we wait for everyone to join, I wanted to show you a few pictures of really what's going on here. So first, I'm going to start out in the vineyard. The biggest thing that we're doing right now is getting ready to do some planting. I love this photo of viticulturist Jordi Lonborg holding an old head-trained Counoise vine. This is one of the blocks that had some virus that we pulled out that we're going to be planting again this winter. But I love how you can see he's holding basically at his waist is sort of where the ground would have been, and you can see how far down these roots are. This is not a super old vine. It was a 2003 planting, so 17 years old. But it's just a good sign of how even fairly young vines are able to go deep with dry farming. You can see one of the blocks outside the winery, in between the winery and where our little wetlands area is, that we're going to be replanting. And this is going to be fun because we're going to have all of the Chateauneuf varieties here as a little demonstration vineyard. So you'll be able to walk through it from the tasting room and on our tours. In the vineyard itself, it's looking wintry. We've gotten frosts almost every night for the last week. So it's pretty brown out there. We're just waiting for rain. We will be picking olives this week. That's the last thing that has to come in off the vineyard. We're looking like a small olive crop this year, which is fine. We've had big ones the last couple of years. The most exciting stuff going on in the vineyard right now is the animals. We've got something like 60 lambs born so far this year. This is a mom with twins that I saw just this morning. We have our mastiffs there keeping close watch. That's Bjorn, who came to check out what I was doing when I was taking pictures. You can see that same mom in the background. We are, you're probably already seeing this on Instagram, but we're sharing lots of lamb pictures. So if that sounds like something you want to see, keep looking. One of the cool things we're doing right now is getting them into some of these blocks where there was some second crop clusters. This is a Grenache block that they were in about a week ago, where you can see that they've basically eaten up about as high as they can reach. I mean, they're not super tall. And that cleans out the fruit zone. So it basically means that any second crop there gets turned into manure rather than rotting and attracting stuff we wouldn't want. So this is just pass one. There's not a lot of food for them out there. So we have to move them every 24 hours or so. But once we get rain, it'll be a little more plentiful. In the winery, we are bottling this week, so you may hear some clinking in the background. That's bottling of Esprit Blanc 2019. This has been sitting in foudre for the last year plus, and we will be just letting it sit in the cellar for another 9 months or so. We'll release it next fall. We're also bottling the 19 Roussanne, which you can kind of see behind cellophane here, and Ce Petit Manseng. So last bottling of the year, just getting stuff really put to bed. And then finally, in our tasting room, we've got some of our Christmas merchandise out. So you feel like doing a little Christmas shopping locally, come on out and see us. It's all an outside display, so it's nice and distanced and feel good about doing it. Okay, that's it. I'm going to get rid of the pictures, and I'm going to invite Marc to join. Okay. So says it's connecting, waiting for Marc. It is a beautiful, beautiful day here in Paso Robles. Hey, Marc.
Hey, Jason, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good.
So it's the evening for you in France. Thank you for joining me after dinner.
It's a pleasure.
Where are you right now?
I'm at home because it's actually 9 p.m. So I'm at home. I actually live in Aix-en-Provence, which is basically a good place because not only it's a beautiful city, but it's in the middle of our various southern estates, basically. So I can easily reach Provence or Châteauneuf from here. So it's a good location for me.
easy jumping off point to get down to Miraval.
For instance, yes. It's also a very nice city, but you know the place. I mean, it's a good city to live in. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
university town, and it's a beautiful place.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sure that a lot of people who are watching this will know. I mean, they know Famille Perrin as a unit. Um, Talk a little bit about sort of your role in Famille Perrin larger, and talk a little bit, if you would, about how the family, the different things that the family is involved in, and how responsibilities are divided up.
Well, it's a real mess, in fact. The reality is that we are a family business. We are very proud of that. As you know, we are 9 family members working together. There is my father, Jean-Pierre, my uncle, François, and then I have 2 brothers and 1 sister, and François has 2 sons. So we are 9 working together, and we love to do it this way. I think that, as you know, but family think long term, right? When you decide to plant a vineyard, you are my age more or less. When we decide to plant a vineyard, we know that by the time this vineyard really produce top quality grapes, we won't be the winemakers there, right? It would be our sons or daughters. And basically, when you think this way, I think you try to do the very best for your kids, right? And so uh, wine is about long term. I mean, wine takes, if Beaucastel, for instance, is what it is today, it's because my grandfather, Jacques, my uncle, my father, my great grandfather made the right decision at the time, in the vineyards. And so I strongly believe family make better wines than corporations, because families really have this capacity to think long term,
Yeah.
which corporation, some drug corporation have that, but many corporations think more like, shorter term and
Yep.
profit at the end of the quarter and this kind of thing. Wine is not like that. Wine, to make legendary wines, to make outstanding wines, it takes time. It takes right decision from generation after generation. You need very smart ancestors to make great wines, in fact, because it's so easy. No, it's true. I mean, it's so easy to make a mistake. Like, in Chateauneuf in the 50s, a big kind of, even in viticulture, there are trends, right? Sometimes you don't know why there is a trend about viticulture. And then in the 50s in Chateauneuf, the big trend was the défonçage. So the idea was to remove the vine and go and do a very deep flow, and basically turn upside down all the upper side of the soil. That was kind of a trend in the 50s. And so many people were doing that, But the thing is, as you know, in Chateauneuf, we have galets roulés, they are very important. And these galets, they have really one side up and one side down, because when it rains, they are polished, so the water is going down the galley, and so there is organic life starting to happen. And so you have people who, in the 50s, have really destroyed their terroir by doing this very, very deep flow, And so you can make big mistakes very easily, moving to, pesticides or herbicides. So it takes a lot. It takes a lot of smart decision from previous generation to really make great wines. So we are a family business. We are very proud of it. I am the eldest of our generation, and basically, I'm involved in every aspect of the business, like we all are, and I'm very involved in our project in the Northern Rhone with Nicolas Jaboulet, where we have developed, Domaine Les Alexandrins, which is a beautiful small boutique winery, but which focus in only the Northern Rhone terroir. And I'm also very involved in the Miraval project, which, as you know, is in Provence, which is more focused on rosé. And the last thing I've been very involved in with my brother and cousins is Champagne Fleur de Miraval, which is a new champagne house we have just created. So it's a lot of things to discuss tonight if you want. But that's what I do. But really, again, family company, family business, family owned, family run. We make all the decisions as a family. We make all the blending as a family. We make all the key decisions about our investments and vineyards buying or stuff like that all together. And then one of us, the one who is more keen to, taking care of that, is going to maybe be more in charge of that part. But it's really a family thing.
One of the things that I really love about the way that the family operates is that all of you are sort of encouraged to go out and do other things and then come back and rejoin the family business. So,
Mhm.
I mean, I know you did several things outside of
Yeah.
not even quite outside of wine, but certainly outside of Beaucastel Famille Perrin when you started. Like, tell people about those.
Well, that's very old. That's history, now. But yeah, I was lucky when I graduated. That was the beginning a little bit of internet, 1993, something like that. And so I was fascinated by that, and I still am actually. I really think technology has a lot to. If you use a good part of technology, it can bring a lot to quality to. And I did a few business online. One was a web hosting company which I sold, and the other one was an online wine retailer which I also sold, and which still exists actually. So that was my previous life. And I also worked a little bit in a big American company called Procter and Gamble, but not too long, not too long. That was my initiation to business at the time.
Yeah, I mean, I know that I've been here now 18 years, and then was working for a couple of years before that from the East Coast for Tablas. But I know I still really use the experience that I had outside of this, maybe not on a daily basis, but certainly on a weekly or monthly basis. I think it's easy to get this kind of ivory tower idea where if you are always in the same environment, that environment is the only environment that you know, so you don't have context. And it's for a winery, it's also very easy to get stuck in the situation where the people who you see are the people who seek you out, who generally think you're doing great. And so going out and getting the perspective of people who are not in your business already, I feel like is a really valuable thing. And one of the reasons why you're able to be so dynamic, not just you, but you writ large, Famille Perrin is able to be so dynamic.
Yeah. That's right. And we are working actually. I'm 50 years old, and we are working. We are trying to think about what's going to happen next. What's going to be the rules for the next generation to join the business and these kind of stories. That's a big issue. Not issue. I mean, that's a big subject. Yeah. And we are actually we are thinking of rules. And one of the rules is we say, okay, we want family members who want to join the company or in any position actually to have 5 years of experience in another company. It can be in the wine, Cesar, who did an interview
Right.
with you, he went to Latour, he went to DRC. I mean, it can be a closed environment, but it has to be an experience where you are confronted with other ideas, other people, other techniques, other challenges, and that's very important. I think it's key. Yes.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So, talk a little bit about talk about Miraval, so that people understand sort of how the partnership works between you and Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, but then use that to jump off and talk a little bit about the Fleur de Miraval, the champagne that you've been working on for the last, 6 years, 7 years?
Oh, yeah.
And just announced. Yeah. So, I mean, it takes a long time to turn champagne into something that you can actually bottle.
Yeah, it takes time before you release the first bottle. The wine has to stay 3 years on the lees at least, and it takes a lot of time. But Miraval is a fantastic story. I mean, it's an amazing property, which Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie had bought in 2008, I think. And it was an estate like many estates. It's beauty. I mean, it was managed like many estates. It's a really unique estate. I mean, it's about 2,000 acres, one plot. Usually you see estates which are part of a valley. Here the valley is part of the estate. It's beautiful. I think it's the most beautiful estate in Provence by far. I mean, in terms of everything.
Oh, it's stunning. It's absolutely stunning.
Yeah, I mean it's unique. And so well, they had bought this place more for the house and for the vineyards, but it happened there was a vineyard there, and they are very obsessed about quality. So the wine has been made there for a very long time. but they wanted to figure out how to become the best wine in Provence, or some of the best, very best wine in Provence. And so we started to discuss about that. And they also contacted other people to help them on that, and they eventually decided to do it with us. And their idea was to have a consultant. So that's where the family is beautiful. We decided it would be us, but I went back to the family and we discussed as a family, and family said, no, we don't really want to be consultant. We'd love to be involved in Miraval because it's a fabulous project, fabulous potential, but not as consultant. So I came back to Brad and Angie and told them, well, we are very flattered that you consider us, but we won't do it as consultant. And by the way, you need more than consultant because it's not only about improving the quality of the wine. We have to redo the bottle. We have to redo the vineyards. So some of the vineyards, there was Cabernet Sauvignon that was planted there, which doesn't work well in Provence. I mean, it worked well at Prévalent, but not there because it was in higher altitude. So there was a lot of work to be done on the viticulture, on the winemaking, of course. The winery was not optimal. We had, and then on the distribution, which obviously is very important too. And so
was this a hard conversation? Were they surprised?
No, it took 30 minutes to explain and one night to think, and they called us next day and said, okay, let's do it. So we have done a partnership. Basically, they own the property, but we have a company which is 50-50 between their family and our family, which is in charge of everything about viticulture, winemaking, distribution, everything. And it has been an amazing success. We started it in 2012. We started to get involved in 2012, and basically, the combination of their name, our know-how in wine, I guess, and the quality of the terroir, which is amazing, absolutely stunning because it's altitude vineyard. It's a very specific limestone clay, Kuiper marls, so great minerality. And then the winemaking, we have used a lot of egg-shaped tanks for this wine in order to add some mid-palate texture because it's altitude vineyard. So we have a great minerality, we have great floral character, but sometimes the mid-palate is a bit light. So we wanted to improve this mid-palate. So we do it in this egg tank. So we have a steering of the lees without oak. So, I mean, there was a lot of thinking and work which has been done, and it's been an amazing success. This is one of the wines, the winery, which have really helped the boom of rosé everywhere in the world, including in China now. We see a lot of interest, and so it has been an amazing project. And to come back to your question, since the beginning, Brad was saying, okay, we should do something in Champagne one day because, Champagne is fabulous. I mean, it's a world of prestige and celebration and luxury, and it conveys all these ideas. And so, yeah, we have decided to create the Champagne house, which is called Fleur de Miraval, which is the only Champagne house which focuses exclusively on the rosé. Rosé Champagne is a small portion of the Champagne production. I think it's 12%. So all the big, the big names, the established name, of course, they are going to focus on the Blanc de Blanc, on the Brut, which are 88% of or 90% of the business. And we said, okay, we are not a Champagne house. That's not. We are newcomers. So let's take this small niche, but try to push it as far as possible in terms of quality. And so we did a partnership again, with between our company Miraval, which is commonly owned by Brad and us, and Pierre Peters, Rodolphe Peters, but Pierre Peters company, which is also a family-owned company based in Le Mesnil-sur-Oger, which is arguably the best Grand Cru in the Côte des Blancs. And Rodolphe, for me, is a master of Chardonnay. He produced Rodolphe Peters wines, the Pierre Peters wines, and Chétillon. It's textbook Chardonnay from the Mesnil, top level. And so we decided to try to create a Champagne house, and we did a lot of testing together. We did a lot of dinners together, and our impression was the wine we could not find, the champagne we could not find, was a combination of the aromas of aged Chardonnay with young Pinot, basically. And you know, the way people think in Champagne, I think, is there are a few exceptions, but for the rosé, like for the white, we think in terms of vintages, which means that the Chardonnay and the red part, Pinot Noir, Pinot Meunier, come from the same vintage. We decided to change that. So we produce a blend, a Champagne blend, which is older Chardonnay with younger Pinot Noir. And we love that because it combines, you know, the wonderful aromas of butter, nuts, noisettes, I don't know in English.
Hazelnut.
Hazelnut, thank you. Brioche, this works in English too, but you know, of great aged Chardonnay, especially from the Grand Cru of the Côte des Blancs, but with a freshness, an aromatic which is not at all oxidative of Pinot Noir, which we produce in Vertus, by the way, which is in the Côte des Blancs, the spot for Pinot Noir, which are not, you know, at all evolved aromas, but they are more like pomelos, pomegranate, you know, and so on. And then also what we decided is that because a big part of the Chardonnay comes from Le Mesnil, you know, the raised in Le Mesnil, the salinity and the iodine character and the sea breeze, seaweed, you know, character to the wine, which, in our opinion, doesn't work well with tannins. So instead of doing what people usually do, which is to blend, you know, red wine and white wine to make a rosé wine, we decided that the red part, the Pinot Noir part, would be made by saignée instead of making a red wine. Because by doing a saignée, as you know, we are going to bleed off the tank quickly, so we will get the aromatic but not the tannins. And in fact, the tannins doesn't match with the Chardonnay from Le Mesnil because of this salinity. So it's really, you know, something really, really crazy. It's a very small, so we have a winery in Le Mesnil now. So we have tanks, we have, you know, concrete tanks, we have food, and we produce 20,000 bottles. That's it, because we don't have the sourcing to produce more. Right. But we are really, the ambition is really to try to push rosé champagne to a level where nobody has been yet. So we have a very complex blending. I mean, it's not necessarily the right place at all. We don't necessarily have the time to discuss, but it's young wines. So for the first vintage, it's young wines from the 2016 vintage. So the Pinot Noir is 25% from 2016. There is 25% Chardonnay from 2016 also. And then there is 25% Chardonnay, which is a perpetual reserve like a Solera, which dates back to 2008, and which, you know, every year we take 25% of that and we add 25% of new ones. So
super cool.
And then there is 25%, and that's the most crazy part of it, where we went to buy Grand Cru wines in bottles, which we open, we remove the gas, put them in a tank, and blended that with the rest. So it's a little bit crazy, you know. But it's fun. It's fun, and the most interesting part is that it's really the profile that we wanted to achieve. You know, to combine the wonderful aromatic of a Chardonnay with the freshness and no oxidation of young Pinot. You know, that's kind of it's an artistic, you know, it's an artistic idea, not a
and
business.
And it's also appropriate. It's also appropriate in that that's more in keeping with the way that rosé is made in Provence. I mean, it's sort of a Provençal take or Provençal approach to a champagne tradition.
Absolutely, and what I love also is that, you know, champagne has always been about blending, and as you know, we love blending too, you know, and so it was a very interesting process. And the fact of working with Rodolphe, Peters, you know, two family of winemakers coming from different areas was really interesting. And I like we did when, you know, we started to work on Tablas Creek some years ago. I mean, I think the great ideas really come when people from different origins, different horizons get together and create something which was not done before.
Right.
And the interaction between your family and my family has been amazing at Tablas Creek. The interaction between the Jolly Peach and ourselves had been amazing at Miraval. And the interaction now with Rodolphe Peters has been amazing in Champagne. And the interaction we had with Nicolas Jaboulet in the Northern Rhone have been amazing too. So I really love that. Many wineries or winemakers would like to do everything themselves because they want to control everything. But I like this kind of frictions, where ideas come out, which can seem crazy when you think about it by yourself, but which become to be achievable when you really challenge your initial thoughts, and these come from the confrontations of opinion. And that's why, to come back to what we said at the beginning, that's why having other experiences before coming back in a winery, if your family owns a winery, is very important in my opinion.
Totally. Cool. Well, thanks. That was great. I understand a lot more about it than I did just from reading the stories that I read. So thank you.
Okay, pleasure.
So can you talk a little bit about what the 2020 vintage was like in the Rhone? I know it varies depending on where you're looking specifically within the Rhone, but just kind of a little overview for people.
Yeah. Basically, it was, we had a very difficult vintage in 2018. Like you, we are all organic, and we had a kind of weather we are not used to. So it was raining and then warm, raining, warm. You could have days where it was raining three times in the day and then very warm in between. It was feeling like a Thailand muson. It was not usual at all. And so for that, I mean, we had of course a lot of powdery mildew from that, and because we are all organic, I mean, it was a nightmare. So that was a tough vintage, which eventually yielded some wonderful wines because the yields were very low, and it's amazing. But it was a very challenging vintage. 19 was easier, and 20 in comparison was such a pleasure. It was an early vintage, and everything went very well. And the first wine are really nice. I really find a very interesting profile. They are not heavy at all. They are very intense, but they have a great density. But they are very balanced, in fact. And so we are very happy because it was an easy vintage, and it's really great wine. So that's cool.
You deserve an easy vintage. I was there for the blending of the 2018s, and like I had expected this to take days, and it was like an afternoon because there were so few lots from that 2018 vintage, and they were really good, but it was like, okay, here are the wines, and I was expecting
everything was great. It was easy to blend. Yes.
We were done in 2 hours.
Exactly, and then you could go to the Grand Prix in Monaco.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's nice too.
Cool. Okay, so what's next for what new stuff are you thinking about, or are you excited about that you're working on that we haven't talked about?
Well, usually until it's done, we don't like to talk too much about. But
of the things you can talk about.
Yeah. No. We keep on looking at things in the Northern Rhone. We have already a very nice winery. We have some great parcels in some appellation. There are some appellations where we still buy grapes. We would love to own some land there, but it's not easy. It's small appellations. That's it. That's one of the most main things in terms of investments. There is no real other projects for now. I mean, these are challenging times. Of course, most of the restaurants are being closed. We are here to try to support all this ecosystem, and that's it for now. We don't really have new plans now.
Are you seeing the same thing in France that we are here, in that with the stay-at-home orders and the restaurants being closed, are you seeing a big surge in like e-commerce and delivery orders?
Yes, we do, but we are, yeah, yes, we see that, but we don't, we do some, but it's not our main thing. But yes, our customers, which are, the people like wine.com or equivalent in France, they really see a huge increase in their sales, yes. And what we see is that we have lost a lot of business in restaurants, so we really hope for them first that it gets better soon. Uh, and of course, retail has compensated that for some brands, but not some others. So it's a challenging time for some brands and some of our friends right now. But I think it's the most challenging is really for the restaurant world, which is really suffering
Yeah,
incredibly. So we really all hope it goes better soon for all these friends.
absolutely. Yeah, it's I mean, we've seen in California, we've been protected from it somewhat because we've been able to have restaurants open for outdoor dining, and in California, most of the time that's very nice and there's
Yeah.
space. But you see other states where it's getting into winter and
Yeah.
weather is not reliable, and even in California, there's places now where they've decided that outdoor dining is too high a risk, so they shut that down in Los Angeles, and
Mm.
so we feel like help is on the way with the vaccines, but it's still the next three
Takes
or
a lot
four
of
months are
time.
going to be
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, it has been half an hour. It flew by. I had like three other questions I was going to ask you, but I think half an hour is probably enough.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
but thank you so much for taking a little bit of time out of your evening.
With
I hope,
pleasure. Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
of course, I hope that I get to see you in person sometime in the next year or so. But until then, be well,
Yeah.
and good luck with all of the projects.
Thank you very much, Jason. Good to talk to
Excellent.
you. Thanks all.
Thank you,
Bye
Marc,
bye.
and
Bye.
thank you everyone for tuning in today. If you would like to set your calendars, in 2 weeks, I will have Becky Gray, who is the executive director of Must Charities, which is doing just unbelievable work in our local community. She'll be my guest in 2 weeks. And until then, thank you for your support and your patronage. Stay safe and be well. Bye, everyone.
Bye.